My name is Hector Sanchez, and I'm a producer at NetherRealm Studios. I work primarily with the design department and the core technology departments.
This is complete subjugation.
It's what you agreed to. It's what we expect.
I'm the king of Atlantis. I answer to no one.
Contract status fulfilled.
My rule has always been absolute.
So after Mortal Kombat, we just wanted to do something a little bit different. We had worked on that game for 2.5, 3 years, and it was very intense experience. And seeing people get ripped up and their heads kind of like chopped off, and seeing blood all the time. After a while, you kind of need to take a break from seeing that for a little bit. So we came up with the idea of coming up with a fighting game that was set entirely in the DC universe, just because we had experience with DC before in 2008 on Mortal Kombat versus DC Universe, and it was an enjoyable experience, and things were going to be a little bit better this time as well, because now we were part of the Warner kind of family proper. So we came up with a couple design pitches of how we wanted the game to be, and we sent it to DC, and they absolutely loved it. They said, go ahead, do whatever you want, and from then on, they never told us no with anything that we wanted to do, from character design to environment design to anything like that. It's just been it's been a really good working experience with them. When you see Mortal Kombat, you go all the way to the most extreme violent part that you could say. So anything less than that extreme kind of line will feel like it's not enough. That was one of the lessons that we learned, and that's why we wanted to do just a DC Universe game, because those expectations aren't there. As a matter of fact, DC is almost a little bit tame as far as kind of the violence goes. Batman doesn't kill. Most of their characters have a very strict moral code where they don't do that. So any kind of violence, you're like, whoa, it has more effect because it's not expected, versus Mortal Kombat having an expectation and coming up short because of whatever was in there. So I think that's the way it kind of like, it balances itself out. So without giving too much of it away, the Joker has kind of tricked Superman into doing something that he would never imagine doing, and it kind of pushes Superman over the edge, where he deals with the Joker in a way that I don't think players would have expected from a character like Superman. And because of that, obviously Batman is very kind of taken aback by that. We know that Batman doesn't like to kill, and he, as much as he fights with the Joker, it almost seems like they have an affinity for each other. They can't exist without each other. So Injustice kind of tells the story of a world where the superheroes are no longer superheroes. They've kind of changed their colors and done something a little bit differently. And the main kind of beef, the main fight between the two is going to be, those who side with Superman's way of, this Superman's way of doing things, and those who side with Batman's way of doing things. So some of the lines are very much blurred. Characters that you thought were heroes are now villains, and characters who as villains are actually now the protagonists of the story. So I think that's going to be something that people are going to be very into. It's obviously kind of a slippery slope, and it's something that we've been working on for a couple of years. Luckily, we do take time out in the story to explain how Catwoman can be in an even fight with Wonder Woman. And Nightwing fighting Superman. These are in the comic book realm. I hate to use the word in real life, but in the comic book realm, these would be unbalanced fights, and they would never fight each other. But for the purpose of a fighting game, we couldn't have those characters be completely overpowered. Nobody wants to play a game where Superman wins with just one punch and the match is over. So as far as the gameplay goes, we balanced it in the way that we would balance any other one of our fighters. There's a specific line that everybody goes on, and we just give people little tools and tricks so that everybody's kind of balanced. But as far as the story balancing, which I think is very important, especially when you do a comic book based game, we take the time out to kind of explain how all this is happening in the story. One of the things that we've done is we've created a very robust tutorial mode that starts up. So I would probably suggest to you and anybody else that's playing the game for the first time to kind of play through the tutorial, where we actually teach the player movement, we teach them special moves, we teach them how to do transition hits, how to interact with the environment, all of these things that you need, the tools that you need to be successful in the game. The first time you boot it up, we'd scan to see if you've ever played the game before, and if we haven't, we'd suggest to you, hey, would you like to go through this tutorial mode? And it kind of teaches people to play the game. Another few ways that we've made the game more accessible is that we've reduced the number of kind of attack buttons. Now there's only 3 attack buttons versus the 4 that were in Mortal Kombat. We removed the dedicated block button, which was, you know, just an extra button that people were going to have to worry about. Now it's the more traditional kind of back to block. And we have a few things kind of set up in our special moves list that allows player to kind of tag and visually display special moves during the match. Instead of it being buried like within the pause menu. So usually, you know, when I play fighting games, I usually have to hit the pause menu, go to see how do I do certain special moves. Well, now we give the players the opportunity to kind of show that on the screen so that while they're fighting, they can just look up and see, oh, this is how I do a batarang, or this is how I do freeze breath, or this is how I do this insane combo. So I think those kind of things are kind of like small instances that we've made the game more accessible. And we also make kind of the button inputs to perform the big super moves very simple. It's hitting both triggers at the same time. To interact with the environment, it's a single button press. To do certain characters' powers, it's a single button. So there's a little bit that goes into it to make things a little bit more accessible. But we also didn't want to kind of like shun the hardcore fans that made MK such a success. So, and the gamepad, we use the screen on the gamepad while you're fighting to actually display kind of the special moves and combos so that you can actually look at it and while you're playing the game. And we also enabled kind of remote play, so just in case you know, you're playing the Wii U and somebody else in the house wants to watch TV, you don't have to stop playing your game. You can actually continue to play it on the actual gamepad itself, and it runs the same thing at 60 frames per second. If you have to get up and go to the bathroom and you don't want to stop playing, you can go and take it with you and play as well. So those are the ways that we've incorporated the gamepad use into the Wii U. Yeah, you know, we think about it all the time. It's definitely something that we have our eye on. We just wanted to focus on the 360 and PS3 and Wii U kind of consoles for this kind of launch, but, you know, never say never for the future. Obviously, you know, PC market is growing, especially in Europe. I feel like, you know, there's a lot more people here that, you know, that would play it than the United States. But it's definitely something that we're keeping an eye on, and we're looking, and if the outpouring of requests kind of continue to come in, then we would just be foolish to turn our eye to it. April 18th will be available in Europe, and I would suggest people go out and pre-order, because we have quite a few kind of like pre-order kind of treats for people to go out there and get the different versions.